These are the stories
My little girl, she's changing lives just by being herself.
of organizations and people making a difference.
When you first tell someone about adaptive wheelchair boxing, it doesn't sound real.
And empowering others
It saved my life. It saved my life.
across Canada
I scored my first goal in my first blind hockey game.
in our community.
I'm Leanne Carr, and I'm the president of Autism Independent Living Association, which we call AILA for short. I got involved with AILA because my son is on the spectrum, and I wanted to have a place where he would be able to live and he would feel supported and part of a community. Our long-term goal is to build a housing development for autistic adults in Edmonton. Self-determination and self-governance is so important with AILA because so many developments or so many programs are built for the person, and the person kind of has to slot into that program, right? We don't want to do that. We want to be able to build the development by autistic adults for autistic adults, so it's meeting their needs. Currently, our board is made up of 5 autistic adults and 3 supporters, and we've always had at least 50% of the board members to be on the spectrum, and we actually have built it into our bylaws that they have 51% of the voting rights. So I co-founded AILA with Michael Frost.
I am Michael Frost, one of the co-founders along with Leanne. I live in a 2-bedroom townhouse in the unit that my dad and I originally moved into. My dad passed away in January of 2023, and so I've been living here since then. I have been struggling with quite a lot of executive functioning tasks that are typical of autism. As I was collaborating on the development of this organization, I kept reflecting on the fact that it would allow me to find ways of gaining the support that I needed to live in community while also having a degree of influence about how those supports would actually support me, not how they would make some other party's life easier.
AILA's actually been around for 10 years as a registered association. We had a developer who was looking at building a larger development, and we would be just kind of a small portion of it. And then unfortunately COVID happened, and those plans had to go astray. The sense of community and sense of belonging has been a huge piece for us, because a lot of people on the spectrum, they have a hard time trying to make connections with people, you know, and so social isolation is quite a big factor for them. So that's been kind of a huge piece for us, is that we need to have that sense of people coming together as a community. Kyle Lobb is one of our board members, and he's now our vice president as well.
My name is Kyle Lobb. I think what makes AILA different is we're the people that really want to see this become a reality, because we struggle with this. You know, we struggle with, moving out into our own, and we can put a real human face on what we go through on a daily basis. In other organizations, it's just like, well, this is like a, hey, I care about this person, but they're just part of my job. And, once the job is over, I get to go home to my real life. This is our real life. We're living with this 24/7. When you have that personal, connection and that personal stake, that makes the work that we do all the more important and influential. Growing up, school was always very challenging for me. At the time, there was a lot less awareness of these things than there is today. Teachers and other school and educational professionals didn't know a whole lot about what Tourette's syndrome was, and what autism was, and what OCD was, and what ADHD was. My parents really had to fight hard to make sure that I got the quality education that all my contemporaries had. I do feel supported, which is good. But I have to be honest, I am really wanting my independence. And if I've said this once, I've said it 1,000 times. I want to feel like I'm an adult who can look after himself. And I think that's kind of what all adults want. They want to have their own independent life. And that's really what I'm striving for.
Diane Scotch is one of our members. She's a board member of AILA, and she's been involved with us pretty well almost right since the very beginning.
So I think I'll just preheat the oven. Okay, chicken fingers. I've gone 48 years without knowing that I had on the spectrum. The psychiatrist, and I only saw the psychiatrist a few times, and he said, you got, he was joking with me. He said, you got asparagus syndrome. I said, you mean I'm a vegetable? That's a joke. Like the old adage, like you're gonna fall in love, get married, have kids, have a house, have a car. Well, that just did not go for me, right? And people will say, well, that's nothing wrong with you. And I was like, well, that's what has spurred it on for me to go and get something checked out, because why can't I even accomplish some of the basic things that other people get, right? And what I have here is to cope with my lack of not knowing exactly what I feel, or if I have extreme anxiety and stuff like that. And so this one is how do you feel, and then it's got the different pictures on it. And then this is the breathing technique, like breathe in, breathe out. Well, my mom always just said that I was perfect the way I was. Like she didn't think that there was anything, I didn't have a disability. Personally, I find Leanne like a multitude of information. She's just the best ever person I've ever met, because she actually gets a person involved in the management.
So every month we have a meeting with our resident council. Right now there's 5 autistic adults and 3 family members. And the idea behind that is that they're learning skills on how to, 1, run an effective meeting, and then 2, also to be responsive to tenant and landlord concerns, so that they're kind of learning how they can run a development once it's built on, like on a go-forward basis. We have a lot of our meetings at Edmonton Public Libraries, Calder Library being one of them. The room we usually use at the Calder Library is a boardroom, and it's kind of set up in a, where we can put the tables around in a circle, and everybody kind of sits around the table. And there's a TV there so that we can hook up the laptop and have the virtual attendance as well.
We're at Calder Library. Tonight's meeting is being led by Tyler, who's one of our newer members, and it was his turn to bring up a scenario that could happen in a meeting and kind of guide the group through the meeting so that we can discuss the topic, offer solutions, kind of pinpoint what would work and what wouldn't, and then go from there.
Move on to the agenda for today's meeting. We're going to talk about attendance, old business, lack of social activities, new business, property damage, and then action.
This is very important so that people with autism learn how to communicate effectively, not only in a group scenario, but in a professional scenario as well. So it's more than just like, developing like social skills or things like that. It's how to conduct yourselves professionally so that things get done and problems get solved.
We received a complaint regarding major structural damage that caused the tenant to move out in our community.
So tonight went really well. Tyler was a very good team leader tonight. And yeah, I really enjoy doing this more, because not only does it get people in our group to talk more about group settings, but it also helps me learn and listen and figure out how I can help people in a better way.
Our Community will return after the break. We now return to Our Community.
We used the time from COVID to kind of really modernize our structures, bring our bylaws up to date based on what we were doing at this point in time. And we spent a lot of time really trying to figure out how we can make connections with other organizations that could help us, and really, kind of coming up with that partnership model that we want to do.
My name is Drew Robotham. I am the housing coordinator at Autism Independent, but I also serve the province. So my goal is to improve access to housing and quality of housing for autistic individuals across the province. AILA and Autism Edmonton have a long-standing relationship. Both organizations are very well established, and we've been working with the Autism Independent Living Association for a long time, supporting their outcomes and supporting their quest for individualized and supportive housing. A number of our employees have been on the AILA board, including myself now, and we're very proud to support the work of AILA. AILA is unique in their approach to housing for a number of reasons. One is they are an autistic-led society that are supporting other autistics in accessing and improving housing outcomes, and so that means that they are on the absolute forefront of what autistic individuals need.
Follow me, and we're gonna start at the corner here. My name is Yasushi Oki. I'm the executive director of Green Violin. Green Violin is a nonprofit land development company. I set it up 5 years ago to address affordability and housing options in Edmonton.
It's really hard sometimes to kind of envision just looking at a architectural drawing. That's where the tour was so valuable, because we could actually see what kind of space and what could be built on a specific space. His big focus is kind of that sense of community and bringing people together. And of course, that's really what we want to do with AILA.
Just to show you the amenities that create a community. We've got not just the hospital here, but we've got all the shopping right across the street. We've got the LRT station down there. We've got the Polish church here, and then NAIT College right up the street.
Did you check with the police, like if it's safe for women to walk by themselves at night?
Wow, that's a very good question. Yeah, we look at security, but we don't take it down to that level. The first project that we're going to see is the Kingsway Garden Suites. It's in the neighborhood of Spruce Avenue. It is the concept of taking an existing house, utilizing the backyard, and densifying by putting in backyard garden suites and accessible housing. So we're building 3 units. So the new project is a 2-story house where the garage is. The 2-story house is going to have a basement suite for a student to live in. So call it a secondary suite or a mortgage helper, or somewhere like a granny suite or a boomerang child suite. Between the 2-story house that I'm building and the original house, we're having a wheelchair accessible house in the middle. So this is a much lower house. It's still 2 stories, but it has an elevator inside. So I'm demonstrating accessibility within community and inclusivity on it. The second project that we're going to take a look at is the, call it the Base Camp project. Although I started off by calling it the Golden Girls, because it is a small community of compact cabins where people, friends, can live in community together. Call it a micro tiny home community. Keeping in line with the history of the place, we are doing a growing garden in the back with a greenhouse for these 3 residents to utilize. As a demonstration site, I think it's going to do affordability, again, sustainability, and community. Third project is in the Parkdale neighborhood. It's right by the Coliseum LRT station along Alberta Avenue, so a lot of services and amenities there. It started off as a micro apartment, but now it has morphed into a skinny townhouse project, all within one city standard lot. With the new zoning bylaw going on, we can put 8 tiny row houses here. If each of you had a row house, it would be like, this is the community that's going to be living here. So I'm looking at 10 people. There could be 10 people living here. They're 2-bedroom, skinny townhouses. They're 12 feet wide and 2 stories tall with a basement that's unfinished for storage. We are looking at the veterans taking up this, and the veterans do not have cars to drive, not the group that we're working with. So this is an ideal location for them where they can support each other in community while they live in the neighborhood and be included.
So we toured 3 developments, and each development had different features that we really liked, right? But I think the vast majority liked the one where there was kind of that common space built into it, where the units kind of faced each other, and they were able to kind of provide their own support and community to each other.
I go into my past to look at what I want in the future. It's that nostalgic and perhaps somewhat romantic image of a neighborhood where we don't lock our doors, where we run out in bare feet, where we drink from the water hose. Can we get back to that? You know, can we get some sort of physical structure built? Can we physically build something to make us feel safer so that we feel more open to connecting with our neighbors and to be more surrounded by a sense of well-being, which we sometimes call community, we sometimes call society, or we just call it being human.
Our Community will return after the break. We now return to Our Community.
Two of our members, Glenn and Matheson, or Matt Erickson, they're a father-son pair, and they've been involved with AILA for several years now. Matheson is one of our resident council members.
I'm here today with my dad, Glenn.
Today I'm here with my son, Matheson.
The resident council in particular has done really good at helping me be a lot more patient than I was previously, to step back and consider all the possibilities before judging.
I think part of the growth that we've seen in Matheson is he is more patient with everyone. He listens better to what they're saying, and he's able to process that, and then he's able to give an answer usually.
Matheson put his name forward to host a paint night at a local gallery that provides services for people with disabilities.
This will be my first time doing one-on-one for a fundraiser event.
So I took some photos of the different paintings, and I also got a video of Matheson as he was kind of kicking off the event.
This fundraiser is hopefully to help raise money to reach the goal of building our first residential area. This is my co-host Renee. She'll be providing a step-by-step tutorial for us with a mountainside, lake, and forest piece in watercolor. I'm going to be going around one-on-one helping to provide tips and tricks for anyone who may need assistance.
So it was lots of fun. We had 14 registered participants for that, and then of course Matheson and his parents were volunteering their time for it. We all did a bit of a variety of landscape photos. The majority of them were a mountain scene, so you could see the Rocky Mountains in the background, and then there was a lake in the front, and you could just kind of see the trees coming up on both sides of the lake. Another parent that's an active volunteer with AILA is Jean Ashmore. And she is taking it upon herself to help us launch our first social enterprise, our autismal caramels.
So we're just getting people trained up to make caramels. We're in my home kitchen because right now we can only produce and wrap in one kitchen. We can't mass produce and mass sell off our website. For that we need a commercial kitchen space, but for now we can just make small batches in our kitchens, wrap them, sell them at small events like the garage sale, the autism market in the fall. Hopefully we can train other individuals and family members so we can mass produce and sell and make money. Our housing development will include maybe a little cafe where we train some of our people to work, bring in other individuals who are looking for that kind of employment, and just building on that. So this is one small product. For a lot of us that have been in the autism community, the conversation was always, well, what's gonna happen when we're not here?
We wanna have it so that AILA is there for people as they age. One of the big things that we're doing is we want to create toolkits that other organizations can then take our work so they can kind of learn from some of the lessons that we've went through. And then of course, obviously for future generations of autistic adults, our leaders can then mentor other autistic adults and say, well, hey, this is how you can start a resident council. This is how you can start housing development. This is how you can start doing fundraising. I've seen a lot of growth with our members over the years. Yeah, Matheson's been he's really grown a lot. When he first joined AILA, he was very shy, really didn't have a lot of input, but he's really, he's always kind of contributing to all of our conversations, any decisions that we make and stuff like that. And then of course him taking the lead on the painting workshop was great. So For Diane, it's really made a difference for her, both with the planning of the Health, Wellness and Social Committee and the Resident Council, because she just feels that kind of specific training on how to speak during a meeting, how to pay attention during a meeting, make sure everybody's having a chance to contribute, has kind of really helped her become more organized on how she's speaking and how she's kind of managing things around her and stuff. Kyle, this last year, he's now taking on more decision making. You know, he's involved in some of the more higher level meetings, you know, with housing providers or other groups and stuff like that, right? So he's having a chance to kind of do more kind of public speaking and more advocacy for AILA and for autistic adults in general.
5 years' time, I would like to see that, like, we're actually getting some concrete results. Like, we've chosen not only a type of land and we're starting to develop our buildings, we have a better plan about what these people with autism may actually need and what types of services that we can provide. Everything from, you know, services with sensory issues all the way to teaching independent living skills so we can train the next generation of people with autism how to live and go out and enrich this community. That's where I see us in 5 years.
I dream of living in a community where I am valued for my abilities to contribute, my ideas to encourage people of all abilities to gather, so that I, like those who don't have any sort of a label of other in our society, can enjoy the things that our culture says we should be able to enjoy.
Producers Mark Copen, Katie Cutting. Director Katie Cutting. Writer Mark Copen. Camera Katie Cutting, Jeff Allen. Music Daniel Balan. Photos and videos courtesy of Leanne Carr, Yasushi Oki. Special thanks Autism Independent Living Association, Autism Edmonton, Green Violin, Boxcar Coffee Shop, Inclusion Alberta, Nina Haggerty Center for the Arts. Narrator Mark Phoenix. Integrated Described Video Consultant Ron Rickford. Supervising Producer Jennifer Johnson. Content Development Specialist Jim Crisco. Director Programming Lizanne Gagne. Director, Content Development and Production, Kara Nye. Vice President, Content Development and Operations, John Melville. President and CEO, David Arrington. Copyright 2024, Accessible Media, Inc.
An AMI original production.